Well, I think we can safely say we are both frustrated, angry, sad. I am sad that we've come to this. I guess I'm not surprised, but I think the whole, everyone is. I think every baseball podcast is expressing the same thing. So I'd like to do maybe this has been done before, but I think at least a little interesting way to do this is literally take a look at the statements of both Rob Manfred and Tony Clark and break them down sentence by sentence and see who is more sincere, more truth telling. See where the facts lie. This will give us an opportunity to respond to any bullshit we hear or applaud and reemphasize the truth in this situation. So, if you've got Rob Manfred's statement up there,
yes, I will read it from the very top.
Yes.
Office of the Commissioner, Major League Baseball. Robert D. Manfred Jr., Commissioner of Baseball.
There's the first lie. This should be, the letterhead should be law offices of Rob Manfred, lawyer of the owners of Major League Baseball. He is not the commissioner in any way. He is not interested in the best interest of baseball. He is the owner's lawyer, and he's doing a fine job of doing the owner's bidding, essentially.
To our fans.
False. I'll stop you right there.
Wow, this is going to take forever. No,
sorry, Rob. No one is a fan of you. You cannot use the term "our fans." Maybe fans of Major League Baseball.
To MLB fans would have been a good way to phrase that.
If he doesn't include himself in that, I would say he would be more accurate. So there's two lies already. It wouldn't even become a statement.
As I've already read the first sentence again, we have another lie.
Oh yeah.
I had hoped against hope that I would not have to be in this position of canceling games.
He and the owners have chosen
April baseball.
They have chosen to cancel the first 6 games of the season. There's no legal mechanism that says they have to do this. There's actually no precedent for this. We'll get into what he cites as the reason they have canceled these games, but there is no reason for these games to be canceled other than the simple choice and the negotiating tactic of Rob Manfred and the owners.
Yeah, and the reason, the thing that makes no sense about it is you could maybe get a deal done within a week. So why do we have to cancel the first 6 games of the season?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing that says we can't operate under the previous bargaining agreement.
Yeah, I know.
And hope to work things out, but this is not what the owners want. We'll get deeper into it, but yes.
We worked hard to avoid an outcome that is bad for our fans, bad for our players, and bad for our clubs.
4th lie already. They did not work hard. They declared December 1st their arbitrary deadline to get a CBA done. Then they passed that deadline and then went on vacation for 43 days.
Yeah, that was horrendous.
They met a total of 7 times in 80 days, in the first 80 days of the lockout.
Right.
For a total of maybe 2 hours. We were joking about that last week.
Yeah.
And then they finally came together in the last 9 days and met. And especially, I could say they worked hard on Tuesday night. They worked till 3 a.m. But to say they've worked hard on this is, it's just stupid.
Yeah. So someone summed it up best on Twitter that said, why is working out the CBA feel like me doing a college paper write a college paper.
Yeah.
Like all the work is done just the day before the deadline happens. So
they're 4 for 4. We're only 2 sentences in. There's 4 lies. So
yeah. All right. Ready.
Yeah.
I want to assure our fans that our failure to reach an agreement was not due to a lack of effort on the part of either party.
Again, I would blame both parties in this because neither of them chose to go to the negotiating table one way or the other. I can't define who pushed away from the table and went on vacation for 43 days, but
yeah,
it didn't happen. So fuck you. Fuck both sides on that.
The players came here for 9 days, worked hard, and tried to make a deal. I'll read the next sentence too.
That was one sentence.
I appreciate their effort is the next sentence. So that's okay, all right.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Our committee of club representatives committed to the process, offered compromise after compromise, and hung in past the deadline to exhaust all efforts to reach an agreement.
False. All efforts to reach an agreement. They would have an agreement if they exhausted all efforts. They chose to hold on to the CBT, the competitive balance tax, the luxury tax, and that is the crux of all issues. This will come up. I mean, this is everything. Everything else is bullshit. It's all slicing up pieces of a smaller pie where the players are trying to expand the pie, and that's the whole issue here. So that is false.
All right. We have listened to the Players Association throughout the process, period. A primary goal of the Players Association has been to increase pay for younger players.
Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, that's it. That's the sentence.
Okay. Well, that is, notice he said young players. That is literally a negotiating tactic trying to drive a wedge between your opponent. Younger players versus older players. That is a classic tactic. I mean, that's a union breaking tactic. Trying to get the vast majority of players are younger, making less money. As we stated before, I remember when we had the free agent frenzy where however many billions of dollars were spent on many big name players just before the December 1st arbitrary deadline. We figured out that's only 50. It was only affecting about 50 players. And in total, the big name players only make up, not even a third of major leagues that are making above, whatever, $1 million or so. So that is a negotiating tactic that Rob is using right there, trying to make a divide between the younger players that aren't making as much and the older players that are.
But I feel like the older players, it's just stupid on his part because the older players have this younger player's best interests in hand. So I don't think
you could argue that. I mean, why?
It's a failed attempt.
I agree with you because if you think about why is Max Scherzer so worried about it?
Yeah,
that dude is a multi-$100 million
millionaire. He drove up in a Porsche. Yeah,
he's fine. It doesn't matter to him whether they could never play another game again. So you've got
this is all about the mistreatment of them as a whole, the players as a whole being bullied by the owners every time they have a CBA that comes up or CBT, whatever. Yeah.
Well, they've been beaten down so badly in the last two CBAs that this is why we are coming to a head now.
As I have said previously, we agree and share that goal.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's obviously doesn't share that goal. I mean, everything they're doing is trying to stop their revenues from going to the players and back into their own pockets instead.
We offered to raise the minimum salary to $700,000, an increase of $130,000 from 2021.
Again, that is not false, but it's missing the point. It doesn't matter. You were splitting up the same pie. You're just divvying up the same bullshit to the players and telling them it's more. We ran into this 2 years ago when we were covering the negotiations of restarting the 2020 season or starting the 2020 season after
in the
COVID. Yeah. That is where we heard multiple offers coming from the owners of like 112 games being played at a certain prorated salary, 90 games being played at a certain prorated salary, and eventually 60 games, 72, I think was one of them. And then 60 games was that. But the prorated salary, what it came down to is all you had to do was the math. And it was the exact same dollar amount that the owners are going to pay out, is whether it was going to be the number of games was higher and they'd get paid less per game, or they play fewer games and get paid more per game. But the way the owners are presenting that was that we're trying to give him more games, but they're offering the same amount of money. So essentially they're paying less money for each game. And that's just disingenuous. It's bad faith negotiations that we've seen throughout. And this is just one more example of that.
Followed by, again, to your point, and the pie is what we brought up last week, that none of these numbers mattered if the CBT wasn't adjusted enough.
Yes.
Because it just means less money than
yes.
for other things. So the next,
they think we're stupid is what it comes down. They think the players are stupid is what it comes down to.
The next truth yet erroneous statement is, we offered to create an annual bonus pool of $30 million for the very best young players. In total, we are offering a 33% raise to nearly 2/3 of major league players and adding more than $100 million annually in additional compensation for younger players.
Again, this falls under the disingenuous argument, because when you don't, you're just dividing up the same pie in different forms. So
right.
Whatever. And again, this is part of their strategy to drive a wedge in the middle of the players union, break the union. They're trying to get younger players to get upset that, the older players that are making money aren't helping them. And I can't dispute the numbers. I don't have what they've been trying to negotiate over the last 90 days. I don't have that in front of me, but I wouldn't doubt if those numbers are accurate.
Well, the numbers are accurate, but I think
again, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And the players were asking for like $95 million in the bonus pool. So again, you're not in the ballpark.
Exactly.
So, you are in the ballpark, I would say, of that they asked for 725, they got to 700, but again, it doesn't matter because
we're not playing games because of that. I don't think so.
We're not playing games because of the CBT, but
exactly
as you pointed out last week. So let's continue on to this fictional tale written by Emperor Manfred. The proposal also addressed player and fan concerns about issues like service time and competitive issues.
Okay, why are those issues? Service time manipulation is manipulation by the ball clubs. These are bad business practices. These are bad competitive practices being performed by your owners. These are not issues that the players have come up with. These are bad practices by you. So patting yourself on the back that you're trying to resolve those is ridiculous. Yeah, congratulations. You're not committing murder. Like, awesome.
The lack of information on this next sentence just makes me chuckle. Baseball would for the first time have a draft lottery, the most aggressive in professional sports.
Okay, I saw this, and first off, I thought, what is? It's hard to define what aggressive. Aggressive. B-E aggressive. BEAGGRESSIVE.
What is an aggressive draft lottery?
Well, I can't figure it out because what the numbers came down to is, I think it was 4. There'd be 4 teams in this lottery,
and the players wanted 8.
Yes. Well, the NBA has 14.
Yeah, that seems aggressive.
The NHL has 15.
Aggressive.
So, I don't know what he means by aggressive. So I guess he could come back as a lawyer and say he meant something completely different by the word aggressive, as we've seen other lawyers and presidents try to dispute what the definition of the word is famously in history. So yeah, whatever he means by aggressive, throw that out. Whatever the fuck. If it's 4 versus 15,
it may be the dumbest sentence in this entire.
Yeah, I agree.
In this entire statement.
The other part of that is draft lotteries, especially in baseball, I think are more meaningless, just mainly because it takes so long for players to develop that it's a crapshoot anyway. So the consensus number 1 pick is not the same value in baseball as it is in other sports. It's just not. Those things don't play out that simply.
So, in the other sports, they're normally just playing for in most cases that year.
Right.
So Also, for the first time ever, we agree to an incentive system to encourage clubs to promote top prospects to their opening day rosters.
Who's again, they're patting themselves on the back for doing something they should be doing anyway. That they're literally have to create an incentive in their own CBA that says they should try to win games with their best players. And somehow this is the players' fault that they're not doing that. I mean, that's not a lie. It's just a disingenuous argument. You're giving yourself credit for doing something you should already be doing.
We also proposed, I lost my spot. Sorry. We also proposed that the first and second place finishers in the Rookie of the Year voting in each league will receive a full year of service.
Okay, this is in the running for the most ridiculous things I've heard. First of all, this affects 4 players, 2 in each league. First and second place, Rookie of the Year. 4 out of 1,200 players. Secondly, they should be doing this already. If somebody's good enough to be Rookie of the Year, they should have been called up at the beginning of the season. They should have been called up, 14 days later after their service time has been manipulated.
Right.
Other parts of this include this is post action, after they've already manipulated their service time. They're going to slap their own wrists. That's essentially is what they're saying. We're going to be bad, but if these 4 players get through and make Rookie of the Year or get in second place, they get their full service year for full time. So the other part of that is that's an arbitrary award voted by baseball writers.
I mean, and we know they're not very good at their jobs when it comes to voting.
It can be, but it's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
So to tie this to that and to try to take credit for it is absurd. That might be my most ridiculous one. So,
all right, I'm going to read 2 sentences in a row. Right. The MLB asked to make free agency more robust. For the first time ever, we agreed to eliminate direct draft pick compensation, a change the MLBPA has sought for decades.
Well, maybe you should have done that decades ago.
I know. I was just like, when you read this, you're like, did you read this?
Why didn't you do this for decades? I mean,
yes. Why are you now you're going to do it? Oh, you guys are great. You're so great.
Again, patting themselves on the back for shit they should have done long ago.
On the competitive balance tax, we
offered here we go.
We offered a significantly larger first-year increase than the last 2 agreements.
Bullshit. Well, maybe it's significant because the last 2 were horrendous.
Yeah. Bearing in mind that the competitive balance tax is the only mechanism in the agreement that protects some semblance of a level playing field among clubs.
That might be my favorite sentence in this whole thing. That is their own fault. That is if they need a mechanism to make themselves have a fair playing field. That's your problem. That is not the player's problem. If you don't have owners that can compete with each other, what are we doing? The whole system is broken. I mean, we could go on forever about the CBT, but to pat themselves on the back again is ridiculous.
The rest of this gets kind of it's just random.
I've got more.
Yeah. The international draft would have more fairly allocated talent among the clubs and reduced abuses in some international markets.
Who's doing the abusing that he's referring to? Those are the teams. Those are your owners. They're trying to reduce the abusing. Stop doing it. Stop abusing it. The players aren't responsible for you to do moral business practices. You are not doing it. So again, to pat yourself on the back for it is unconscionable.
We also listen to our fans. I think we said we don't want to strike. I don't think the listening was good. The expanded playoffs would bring the excitement of meaningful September baseball and postseason baseball to fans in more of our markets.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. While we preferred a 14-team format, When the format became a significant obstacle, we listened to the players' concerns and offered to compromise by accepting their 12-team format.
Yes, that's an expansion from 10 teams, 12 teams. I think is fine. 14 teams, you're getting into. We're approaching half the league is making the playoffs, and where it begins to get ridiculous. This gets into the minutia of bargaining chips down the road.
Yeah,
that hopefully we don't have to deal with. But the players needed to hold back from 14 as essentially a bargaining chip. They can use that in future negotiations after we get through this one. Hopefully one day, the next CBA they can say, hey, we'll give you 14 games. Hopefully we have more teams by then, which is going to be the subject of a future Major League A-holes. But that's
I mean,
patting yourself on the back, whatever.
The next paragraph, or really it's just a sentence that 2 sentences is kind of, I find it kind of funny because if I'm an owner, I really don't care terribly much about any of this. Like if other than from maybe like if they actually even give a shit about us, what we want. But finally, we offered a procedural agreement that would allow for the timely implementation of sorely needed rules like the pitch timer and elimination of shifts to improve the entertainment value of the game on the field, period. And we agree to the universal DH. But like
they benefit from the universal DH.
They've been pushing the universal DH forever.
More offense means more entertainment, means more people watching their games. I mean, they're acting like they're giving something away, which is another classic negotiation tactic where you act like you don't want to give something away, yet you want it at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that entire paragraph is just like,
I happen to agree with eliminating shifts, and I agree with everything. Not everybody does, so that's fine. We can argue.
I mean, Joey Gallo's going to be happy. His average is going to go from 222 to 232.
Well, every left-handed batter is going to be more interested in going to bat and not having to create launch. This is where the whole launch angle came. I mean, came from?
I'm pretty sure Yasmani Grandel's average is going to be about 485 this year if we ever play.
Yeah, okay, we'll see.
Hey, you may ask yourself the next question. You may be asking yourself this question, Smitty. So, what is next?
Oh, is that the end of the statement?
No, this is the next paragraph.
Oh, I see.
So, what is next? The calendar dictates that we are not going to be able to play the first 2 series of regular season games, and those games are officially canceled.
False. The calendar does not dictate anything. You are dictating this, owners and Rob Manfred. There is no reason these games cannot be played. In fact, if you look at as recently as 2020, when we suddenly figured out when the first game of the season was going to be, they only had a 3-week spring training camp, or what do we call it? Summer camp that year. Because it was happening in June.
Yes.
Somehow they found a way to get spring training done in 3 weeks. Suddenly we cannot possibly do that this time in 4 weeks. So again, the complete bullshit, 100% lie.
I mean, now it's time to let the cat out of the bag. I mean, we have to talk about the fact that owners don't want April baseball.
Wow. That is a huge point. There were even rumors, it was reported that they threatened the players saying, we're happy to give up the first month of the season.
Yes, they are willing to give up the first 25 games of the season.
There's many reasons for that. In fact, number one, like we've said many times, those games are the worst, the most poorly attended games of the season just because of weather.
Yeah. Outside of opening day.
Yep.
The cold
April
weather teams,
sucks.
April games are not sold out in the Midwest.
Yep.
Number 2, service time manipulation.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that because that's a whole nother thing that's going to come up out of this. It's a complication.
But currently, I mean, I'm sure it's obviously going to come up within the bargaining agreement if somehow we get to that 25-day point. But as of right now, if you did not play the first 25 games of the season, anyone called up at the start of the season would have an extra year.
Well, not necessarily, and this is where it gets more common. Now that we've reached this impasse, that's going to be a new issue that's going to have to be bargained.
Right.
So
and
it wasn't. Now it's not just the CBT that's an issue. It's going to be the service time,
right,
and retroactive pay, which
yes,
they have said, the owners have, and Rob Manfred have already said that the players will not be paid for these 6 games. Tony Clark and the Players Association have something to say about that. I mean, there's nothing that, I mean, the owners just can't say that. That's got to be collectively bargained as well.
Yes.
So that's just complicating this issue even more.
Yes. And falling under that service time conversation is, again, this will be collectively bargained, but like Pete Alonso is supposed to be a free agent at the end of the season. According to where we would be at after 25 games, he would not be a free agent at the end of this season.
And that's going to be a big problem. That's another complicating factor.
That's just one name. That's just one of the big names out there that would happen. And that's because this old ass head, that was the only one he could remember. But
well, no, that's a great example. But beyond all of this, though, the reason the owners are happy to give April away is they don't owe their RSNs, their TV partners, regional sports.
That's the other point I wanted to bring up.
They do not
get remembered.
Yeah, they do not owe they don't owe their RSNs anything. They don't owe them a rebate, essentially, if they play 137 games.
Correct.
They can lose 25 games of the season and not owe a dime back. So it doesn't cost them a thing. Plus, they know they have the added revenue coming in on the back end because they've already agreed on 12 playoff teams, an extra series, as opposed to 10 that they've had in previous years. So that money is covered. That means nothing to them. So the fact that well, I don't know that it's a fact, but it's been reported they threatened the players, saying they'd be happy to give up a whole month of the season. There's reasons why they would do that. There's corroborating evidence that they certainly would do that.
All right, let's continue on this thing so we can at least get one of these in the books. Well, luckily Tony's
is short.
Yeah, so Tony's let's get through this short and to the point.
Yes.
We are prepared to continue negotiations. Well, yes.
I think I heard today Dan Halen and I forget who the players rep was. They had an informal meeting today, which might be the better way to do it. Keep Rob out of this. But that's since Tuesday afternoon. We're on Thursday and they're finally meeting again. Well, I haven't heard that there's any more meetings scheduled, but what are we doing? Why did they leave at all? Why aren't we not still talking? Why aren't we staying up till 3 a.m. every fucking night?
It's probably because, did you see the AP footage of Manfred on the ramp practicing his golf swing during the negotiations? That's a sweet photo.
I don't know if you ever heard of Dan Halen before. I didn't know who he was. Kind of like
I've heard of Van Halen, but not Dan Halen.
He was one of the myriad business dudes in their business casual, walking back and forth 26 times between the two sides of the spring training facility.
Yes.
That was my favorite footage. Those are baseball highlights at this point. Just a bunch of old dudes walking back and forth.
He got his steps in. I did that one already. Okay. So we have been informed that the MLBPA is headed back to New York, meaning that no agreement is possible until at least Thursday.
Well, we are Thursday. I'm in the Eastern time zone. It is now
8:14.
It's 8:15 here. So I haven't heard about anything. I haven't been on Twitter in the last
nothing's going on. Currently, camps could not meaningful operate until at least March 8th, leaving only 23 days before scheduled opening day. And
I don't disagree with that, but that's fine.
But
we've done it in less time than that.
Yes. Again, you've already pointed that out. Okay. We only got 2 paragraphs left, thank Christ. We played without an agreement in 1994. Oh, I'm well aware as a White Sox fan. Yeah, and the players went on strike in August, forcing the cancellation of the World Series.
So he's blaming the players he's blaming something on the players from 30 fucking years ago, on this group of players, something that happened. So what he said is not, in fact, not false.
False. Yeah,
but it's irrelevant.
Yeah. I'm going to change my voice for this next sentence. It was a painful chapter in our game's history.
As opposed to this.
We cannot risk such an outcome again for our fans and our sport.
I mean, those are just platitudes, that meaningless, just grandstanding that means nothing. It makes him feel better about his duplicitous nature.
All right. Last paragraph. And then I'm going to pour a drink because I need one now.
You need one.
The clubs and our owners fully understand just how important it is to our millions of fans that we get the game on the field as soon as possible.
Clearly they do not. They have chosen not to. My God.
That's the best part about all this.
Oh, it's my God.
It's as if everyone's going to sit down and smoke the same pipe of what they're selling, that we're too dumb. The players, everyone's too dumb.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
I know. Like, we're all too dumb to realize that none of this has to be happening right now in regards to the cancellation of games.
Yes.
All right. Last sentence. Oof. Take a deep breath, everybody. Let me get this bad boy ready. To that end, we want to bargain and we want to deal with the Players Association as quickly as possible. Yeah, Robert D. Manfred Jr. signature.
I'm questioning
Commissioner of Baseball.
I'm questioning if that's an alias at this point. I mean, considering every sentence in there was a lie or completely disingenuous.
Maybe it's Dan Halen.
Who knows? Who knows what his real name is? I kind of like that, Dan Halen.
Dan Halen.
Make a logo of that.
He ain't talking about love or baseball.
Word Hole Media.